Coming up on this week's edition of Thunder Insider, we break down the month of November, including a couple of big wins in overtime against the Clippers and the Sixers. We'll take a look at why it's raining threes and why Thabo Sefolosha is playing a big part in the team's success beyond the arc.
Another skip pass out to Sefolosha, got it again!
And we'll check in on the Tulsa 66ers and their opening weekend in Bixby.
First professional game ever. It was a great experience.
We had a good training camp, and I think everybody worked hard during that time, and we're slowly coming together.
It's all coming your way, starting right now on Thunder Insider. Another edition of Thunder Insider. I'm Leslie McCaslin, joined by Brian Davis and Grant Long as we are putting a bow on the first month of the season. It's really hard to believe that November is over, December is here. It's Christmas time. This is the best time of the year. But let's talk about a little bit basketball and what we saw in the first month of the season.
I'll tell you what, if this is a team that is still trying to sort things out, like getting the second unit hitting on all cylinders, you could surprise me, because I think the Thunder's playing at a very high level right now, especially defensively.
Yeah, but I think they are still trying to feel things out. But it's a product of having a good team that you can feel those things out and kind of feel your way through the early part of the season, yet still have success. And I think that's what they're experiencing right now.
Well, especially recently, they have started out these games so well on defense, holding Charlotte to just 12 points in that first quarter. In fact, 4 of their last 5 opponents, they've held them under 22 points in that first quarter. What have you seen from them as far as the way they're starting out games defensively?
Well, I think the intensity, lots of activity on the defensive end of the floor. You see active hands. There's been a few deflections that occur in those offense or defensive possessions. I think also it starts with Russell Westbrook. He's up front. He's dictating the tempo of the game on the defensive end of the floor by pressuring the ball handler, making it difficult for the opponent to initiate their offense. And that's one of the biggest keys that happens when you start to pressure the basketball.
Guys, I looked up some numbers, and the Thunder is holding their opponents below 40% shooting the last 3 minutes of the first quarter, the first 3 minutes of the second quarter, and also the first 3 minutes of the second half. So going beyond, Leslie, the first quarter, the Thunder is starting and finishing at critical times. The bench is getting involved, obviously, at the end of the first quarter. And Grant, going back a couple of years, the coaching staff has wanted this team to start the second half better, and we are now seeing that on a consistent basis.
Yeah, those first 2 or 3 minutes of the third quarter are critical, especially if you have a lead and you're trying to increase that lead, or if you're even behind, and when you come out of the halftime break, if you're behind, the first 3 minutes of that third quarter can really get you in a situation to come back if you're in a deficit.
And Coach Brooks loves this from his team. They couldn't give him a better present while we're speaking of Christmas. I'll stop that at some point. But the defense is something he always wants his team to focus on. It's turning into good offense because of that. Why is that? Is it a confidence thing?
It certainly is a confidence thing. You hear Kendrick Perkins talk about communicating on the defensive end of the floor. I think that transfers also to the offensive end of the floor. Of all the games that they've had this year, they've only had 1 or 2 games where they've shot sub 40% from the field. So you talk about executing your offense, moving the basketball, getting high percentage shots throughout this young season so far. I think it hats off to these guys for really just coming to play every game.
And the victory over Houston was the Thunder's 7th where they shot better than 50%. Oklahoma City, through those 7 games, was perfect 7-0. And when you're hitting at that high level, making that many shots, the opponent is taking the ball out of the basket. That gives you a chance to go back and get your defense set.
And Thabo Sefolosha is definitely one of those guys where the defense is turning into great offense. This is a guy who prides himself on defense, but he has been clutch from that corner 3 particularly.
No question about it. Coach Brooks says Thabo is the guy on this team that he can put with any lineup that he puts on the floor, and he will have success. And that's a tribute to Thabo being able to fit in with any group that's on the floor, whether it's offense or defensive minded. He can fit in. The 3-point shot for Thabo, I talked to him and he said, tucking his arm and keeping his elbow tight and his follow through is what's really given him the success so far.
What's interesting is that his defense doesn't, he talks about this, his defense fuels his offense. Something else that Scott Brooks has talked about is, if you notice, in every one of Thabo's threes has come off of an assist. Brooks loves the fact that most of those assists are from either Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant.
Absolutely, and the assists haven't been bad either. I mean, 31 against Charlotte for the 3rd time this season. season. And then we saw it against Houston again, 26. I mean, the ball movement's been great.
We hear them say it all the time. Pass up a good shot to get a better shot for your teammate. And we see this all the time. Good penetration from Westbrook, penetration from Durant, setting up guys. The spacing on the floor on the offensive end is second to none that I've seen. I like the way that these guys are really setting themselves up along the three-point line, spacing themselves out to get those easy shots off the penetration. That's a big part.
I think the second unit deserves a great deal of credit for that, because Kevin Martin is a guy who can do a lot of things and make things happen without the ball in his hand. Eric Maynor may not be shooting well, but he is running the offense to a very high level in terms of being the floor general, making sure that guys are spaced, making sure that he finds the guy who's in position to take the best shot. And again, Nick Collison was talking this week about how he doesn't feel like the second unit is quite there yet. But when you look at the assist numbers and look at how much the second unit is contributing to that, I think the facts just speak for themselves.
Just 9 practices they've had since the trade and in that first month of the season. Not a bad first month of basketball. Don't go away, because up next, Matt Pinto joins me and Grant to talk about this team's resiliency. And the few losses they've encountered, this team continues to bounce right back.
Jump pass, going to Durant, up quick with the right hand, slam dunk.
Gear up for Thunder basketball at NBAThunderShop.com. The Thunder Shop is the official team store of your Oklahoma City Thunder.
Erased inside by Perkins. That's great basketball.
Stocked with all of the current on-court authentic apparel, fan memorabilia, and collectibles for fans of all ages. Declare your loyalty for Thunder basketball at NBAThunderShop.com.
Thunder fans, it's time to vote your Thunder players into the 2013 NBA All-Star Game in Houston. Just visit thunder.nba.com and click on the All-Star button to learn all about the different ways to vote. You're able to vote for all of your Thunder players once every 24 hours. Remember, fans, vote Thunder, vote often. Welcome back to Thunder Insider Now, as we are now joined by Matt Pinto, the voice of the Thunder on the radio. And of course, guys, there haven't been a lot of losses to talk about in the first month of the season, just 4. But every time the Thunder loses a game, they've come back and won one. 4-0 this year. Matt, let's start with you since you're new to our set today. What have you seen from this team in terms of resiliency?
Well, let's say the core nucleus of this team goes back years, and about 3 years ago is when this started. They were 20-6, and then 15-3 the following year, and 4-0 this season. So I think that it's a tightened focus on detail, Grant, that they come back the next game with. They recognize errors of their ways in the previous game. And the bottom line is these guys are incredibly competitive. They don't like losing, and they don't want to have anything begin to snowball in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right as far as being competitive, but I also want to go to the point that these guys are strict in their regiment. They get out there and they go through the same things night to night, game to game, and I think that prepares them for that second game of a back-to-back. And let's not let this go unnoticed either. The bench. On a second night of a back-to-back game, your bench really plays an integral part of your success. If they can come in and give the starters a break, sustain the lead or increase the lead, it's really going to help this ball club.
And guys, how about good coaching? I mean, Coach Brooks and squad really keeping this team focused early on in the season, where maybe they could say, we were in the finals last year. A loss here and there doesn't matter. It matters to this team.
He's been pushing all the right buttons when it comes to substitutions as well. He's been getting a lot of production out of the substitution patterns. He might mix it up every now and again, but he stays with his core guys coming off the bench, and they really responded for him.
And you said it, competitive. They don't like to lose. We've seen that especially in those overtime games. We've had a couple this last week against the Clippers and Philly. They were 2-0. What have you seen particularly when it comes down to the wire?
Well, in both instances, they were chased down and caught in the fourth quarter. So a team a lot of times in the NBA, in the throes of an 82-game schedule, would say, you know what, it's not our night. We'll just gear for the next game. But they have an ability, not just in that resolve you talk about game to game, but I think quarter to quarter, recognition within the game, and they've got a gear they can hit. They have a deep faith and belief in themselves, Grant, that they're able to tap into, and they've got finishers. They've got guys that can bring it home, and Durant and Westbrook particularly.
Yeah, that was exactly my point. When you have guys like Westbrook and Durant who can put the ball in the basket, if you're in a close game situation, that catch confidence in itself. You have 4 or 5 guys, you have an entire team really that has a lot of confidence in these guys to pull them through a victory situation if they need to have that done. Durant, we've seen him do it time and time again. Westbrook certainly capable of the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, we talked to head coach Scott Brooks and Taba Cephalosha about this recently and why this team seems to be so good when it comes down to the wire. 2-0 so far in overtimes this year.
We've always talked about we want to win close games, and we want to win it with great execution. And there's going to be nights where you don't make shots, but you still want to execute the play and have a good look at the basket. And I thought the overtimes that we've done that in both overtime games.
It was good, I mean, obviously, we were disappointed and going in overtime, but it's just about finding a way to win, and we did that. We stick to what we've been doing, and we played the way we wanted to play in overtime. So that was really important.
It's always good to win close games. It gives you confidence going into the next close game. But our guys have always been pretty good in close games. I don't know what our record is, but it's always seemed to be pretty good in the last few years.
Well, guys, with these overtime wins and some of the wins we've seen already in this first month of the season, there seems to be a certain amount of trust forming in this team. It's been short. They haven't had a lot of practice time, as we mentioned earlier, but especially offensively in overtimes, to be able to give the ball to guys like Kevin Martin and Thabo and trust in them to make big shots.
Yeah, trust is essential on a team. People talk about chemistry, but trust is an even bigger element that helps in those moments where you're under fire, there's adversity, and will you give the ball up to a teammate that's missed 3 straight shots? We saw Kevin Durant do that in overtime in Philly to Kevin Martin, who had a tough road trip, and Martin buried a 3 that extended the lead from 3 to 6. There were high fives and chest bumps, and the team was really excited about it because that's an illustration of the trust that teammates can talk about. But Grant, when it comes right down to it, you've got to exhibit it, and this team's doing that.
Certainly agree, and I think that trust has to be established on the defensive end of the floor as well. And Serge Ibaka is a clear example of trusting his teammates because it's second nature to him. When somebody drives the ball to the basket, he doesn't think about it. He comes over to protect the drive. He comes up with the block shot or whatever, knowing that somebody's going to come back and cover his guy so he doesn't get the offensive rebound. Another person that's also doing that, learning to take that trust factor, is Hasheem Thabeet. You see him come over a lot of times. I saw him and I heard him talk to some of his teammates. He went over on a couple of block shots the last game, and his man ended up getting the offensive rebound. He told his teammates, I'm going to continue to go. You guys have to cover me. So they're establishing that trust also with him now.
And for a new guy like Kevin Martin or Hasheem Thabeet, that's got to mean the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Establishing that trust is big.
All right, thanks, guys.
Ahead on Thunder Insider.
Everybody really respects Coach, and his word is final. So we really want to go out and play hard for him, and I think that's what we did. The effort was there tonight. It was consistent.
Catch up on the latest news, game previews, community events, and NBA action each week during Thunder Insider, presented by Integris Health.
Thunder fans, don't forget to take part in our Watch and Win contest brought to you by your Oklahoma Chevy team dealers. Just visit thunder.nba.com for a chance to win tickets to an upcoming home game. Just enter the code 2228 or text the code to 68278 for your chance to win. Welcome back to Thunder Insider. Grant Long returns. We are now joined, though, by Nick Gallows. We're going to talk a little bit about the Tulsa 66ers, who are not too far up the highway, and they have been doing some damage of their own, winning their first two games this weekend against the Texas Legends, and some names that we're familiar with around Oklahoma City doing well in Tulsa.
Well, DeAndre Liggins had a triple-double in his first game. Daniel Orton had a 24-point, 12-rebound double-double. So these guys are getting some valuable experience up in Tulsa.
Oh, no question about it. They have to get that experience. We understand that they are on the professional level, but if they're not getting playing time, the next best thing is to play with the 66ers. They run the same offense, so you get used to running that type of offense on the floor. The defensive schemes are just about the same. So when these guys are called up to the Oklahoma City Thunder team, it's a seamless transition for these guys, and they get to go right in, start to play. They already know the plays, they know the defensive sets and all of those things. So this is a great experience for these guys to get out there on the floor and be able to play in a real game type situation.
And Nick, of course, our writer for thunder.nba.com. This is something that you guys keep up with on our website as well with this team because they're so close.
Right. Well, the synergy between these two organizations is key, and new head coach Darko Rajakovic is really very close with the coaching staff, head coach Scott Brooks here at the Thunder, so the coaching methods, the training methods, the nutrition methods are all the same as they are here in Oklahoma City. So it's great for these guys, Liggins and Orton, and even other guys like Andy Routens and Hollis Thompson to get these same types of methods in playing time as well.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear from Andy Routens and some of the guys about their first wins over the weekend.
I think it's a big deal that we won our first game. The Tulsa crowd came out tonight. They were great. They were fantastic. It was good to mix it up with them after a little bit too with the autograph session. But
You know, the great thing about the win tonight is that there's still a lot of room to improve. I thought defensively we played well, but you know, still a lot of room to improve, like I said, so that's a good thing.
We had a good training camp, and I think everybody worked hard during that time, and we're slowly coming together on the court. I mean, off the court, everything is great, and we're one big family.
Teammates, great. These guys really know how to keep you up and keep you going and stuff. So, like I said, first game experience was a great one.
I mean, I'm just hoping that we get better as a team, and I get better individually, and that we just keep progressing each day.
Everybody really respects Coach, and his word is final, so we really want to go out and play hard for him, and I think that's what we did. The effort was there tonight. It was consistent.
Well, we touched on it a little bit before you heard from those guys, but for guys like Andy Routens and Daniel Orton, DeAndre Liggins, as a former player, how important is it to get, I don't know, just that experience, even if it's not on the NBA level, they're playing games.
Well, I think it does wonders for your confidence as well. These guys get to get out there, they get to fill the stat sheet up, if you will. It's not a selfish aspect that they're looking at. It's a matter of, hey, I want to see what I can do. I want to see how can I prove myself on this level. So when you go and you get an opportunity to play the game, remember, you talk about running the same sets. It's one thing to learn them in practice when you're walking through, but when you get into a real game situation and you hear the guard call a play out, you've got to be able to respond and make that play register with you and get to your position on the floor. You get that in a game type situation. It doesn't happen for you in practice, and I think that's where it becomes valuable also.
All these young guys, even the Thunder's young guys, Perry Jones and Jeremy Lamb, need to put things on tape. Russell Westbrook was saying the other day, he remembered when he was a young guy in this league and just needing to go out there and make mistakes, give something for the coaching staff to really critique them on, and that's how they get better.
Absolutely. Well, as you just heard, they have a lot to be excited about in Tulsa. Several impressive young players, 2 early wins. Fans have a lot to look forward to at the Spirit Bank Event Center. Here's a look back at opening weekend in Bixby.
Well, we support the Thunder, and we will support the Tulsa team, too. We bought tickets for the next 6 games.
We have season tickets, so we'll be here all season long because they're back in Bixby. We're very proud to have them.
Tulsa crowd came out tonight. They were great. They were fantastic. We got to meet you know, all the kids that came to the game. They said they had a great time. Like I said, we like to give back to the community, and coming out here and getting a win for them in the first game was big for us, and we appreciate them coming out.
Fans were more than excited to see all of us and just to have our presence there, and it was just great. I was happy to be there.
Well, it's a good time to get out with your family and have a good time, get your kids out in sports.
Ahead on Thunder Insider.
I got friends that lost their houses and lost relatives, and I didn't want to leave them, but they understood that I'm trying to pursue a dream that I've been chasing my whole life.
I'm Nick Collison, and you're watching Thunder Insider.
There are always tickets to see your Thunder in action. Stop by the Kia Thunder Reward Zone each and every home game, where a drawing is held for complimentary tickets. The drawing is held 1 hour before tip-off, or visit thunder.nba.com for more information. Welcome back as we wrap up this week's edition of Thunder Insider. Well, around the holidays, nothing is more important than being with family and helping those in need. That's exactly what Tulsa guard Isaiah Wilkerson did after his neighborhood on Staten Island was devastated by Hurricane Sandy just over a month ago. For a native New Yorker, Tulsa, Oklahoma is a long way from home. And for Isaiah Wilkerson, leaving New York after Hurricane Sandy made the distance seem farther than ever.
It was very difficult. It was probably one of the most difficult things that I probably had to do in a long time. I got friends that lost their houses and lost relatives, and I didn't want to leave them, but they understood that I'm trying to pursue a dream that I've been chasing my whole life. And an opportunity like this doesn't come along too often.
An opportunity to try out for the Thunder affiliate, the Tulsa 66ers. In the wake of what had happened, the challenge of making the team seemed small in comparison to the devastation on Staten Island.
I was very fortunate that I didn't get hit as bad. It's very torn up, and people lost their houses, lost family members and stuff. So it's just a lot going on out there right now. I check in on my family every day. and make sure everybody's okay. And like I said, Staten Island is a piece of me. So when that happened, it was devastating, and I send my prayers out to everybody out there right now. I was in the storm before I left, and so I wrote it out. I was there. I was with my girlfriend and her family, and we was all there. And my family everybody was together. So after that, we just did the best we could. We donated clothes and things like that. So, and I continue to do that to this day.
Isaiah helped out at home, but then work came calling. He was drafted in the 8th round, and a tryout with the Tulsa 66ers was next on his journey to the NBA Development League.
My family and friends, that's who I breathe for, and that's always been me. I'm a very loyal person, and they're the people I talk to every day, and they know that whatever they go through, I go through. So all that stuff that's been going on, I've been having a little chip on my shoulder, and I've just been trying to play as hard as I can to show the coaches that I'm ready to play. I'm ready to do whatever they need me to do. And with that happening, definitely has given me a little edge to myself.
Isaiah quickly turned that edge into success. He beat out several other players to earn a spot on the 10-man roster. This weekend, he played his first game as a member of the Thunder affiliate. First professional game ever. It was a great experience. Cheered on my teammates. They made some big plays at the end to seal the deal. So 1-0, and I feel good about it. Well, that'll do it for this week's show. The Thunder traveled to New Orleans and then New York this weekend for their first road trip of December. Of course, we'll be back next week as we continue to break down the 5th season in Thunder history. Till then, have a great weekend and be sure to keep up with the team while they're on the road at thunder.nba.com.